I was looking at some of my best old videos and realized, I really don't agree with some of these lists anymore. I think a lot of the times have changed, and my opinion has changed as well. So today, I'm going to be ripping myself off, making the top 5 best characters that you should main in Smash Bros. Ultimate. Now, I did make a previous one of this, but I feel like this follow-up one will probably be a little better. And if you really enjoyed this video and want to see me making some more videos like this, talking about previous topics, but in a new light, and hopefully in a better light, please tell me down below. As well, if you want to see more top 5s like this, subscribe, as I'll be making a lot more in the future. I'm kind of switching back to them. And comment down below which top 5 you want to see other than this, as I could really use some ideas. With that said though, guys, let's get going. Okay, so starting off on this topic, I want to say that this is mainly focused on characters that I think are A, really good, and B, you can actually play and main and do quite well with. I think there's a lot of top tier characters that you can play, and if you put in a ton of time, you'll eventually do okay with them. But as well, there's characters like Joker that I feel like for most players, you're going to pick up and not do that well with. So I'm kind of going to shy away from those. There might be some better characters than the ones on this list, but I think these are the best ones to learn and play. And starting with the probably best of the best that people are thinking about straight off the gate, I'm starting off with Lucina. Now, for myself, I feel like this is just the most classic, quote-unquote, best easy character. You just mash that A button, you mash that subscribe button, you mash that side B, that neutral B, and if your opponent doesn't know how to space against you, you just have longer aerials, you have more damaging aerials, you have a sword with a disjoint, it's pretty obvious, and you should win with that. It's pretty easy. Of course, as always, it's quite easy to play her compared to Marth, so it just ends up being her pretty much being the easiest sword character. That's still really, really good. Now, I'm going to agree with this statement that a lot of people think. But I'm going to say that with time, a few small problems have kind of shown with Lucina. I feel like at the very beginning we thought that she just had no negatives at all and she was just amazing. But after NKLeo dropped her, there are some problems. Mainly that I feel like if you aren't patient, sometimes it can be kind of hard to get in. If the opponent is camping you out super hard, sometimes that can be annoying. And especially when you're a player that's just kind of playing the game, trying to have fun. If your opponent is playing really lame, this is one of those characters that can be very difficult to deal with that. I feel like at high level, of course, she doesn't have any awful matchups at all. But for average players, for people like you and me, for people that are just trying to play the game and trying to do all right at their locals, sometimes versus characters that are spamming projectiles and sometimes versus characters that are very small can be extremely annoying to fight. And while she does have the tools to do so, I feel like sometimes that can hold her back just a little bit. Again, an amazing character with so much kill power, with so much far range attacks, with so much damage, but a few small things that might hold her back a bit in my mind from being the best easy character. Mario might feel like kind of a bit of a weird pick after Lucina because you're thinking to yourself, Joe, you can't just spam aerials quite as much. I mean, you still can, but not quite as much. You don't have all that range. And in general, people think Mario is a little bit worse on the tier list than Lucina. And I'm going to agree, he probably is. And, even with all the people memeing that Mario's top 10 right now, we're going to throw that out of the way. But even with that all in mind, I feel like the one thing that Mario has that Lucina doesn't is the fact that he just doesn't really feel like he has that many game-breaking weaknesses. It doesn't really feel like you're going into any matchup and, you get in there and you're going to be having a terrible time. You can play Mario against just about anything and do kind of fine and have overall a good time with Mario. He's one of those characters that it feels like you can always win with if you're trying your best and if you're outplaying your opponent. He has the tools to play lane, he has the tools to play aggressive, he can spam his aerials as much as he wants to, or he can be very, holding onto those arrows and not spamming them a lot. He can make a lot of reads, and he can just kind of do it all, at least to an okay level. His recovery is good, his specials are good. He just kind of has it all. Now, maybe they aren't the best of everything, but they're pretty dang good. Now, one thing that he does, of course, have a lot better than most characters is his combo game. You got up throw into down air into up air, up air, up air. We got up air, up air, up air, nair into forward tilt and a ton of other random stuff. And he has a ton of random strings that you can continue just combos off of. He's a character that just kind of has it all, while also having a really good combo game. So if you want to put time into that, you can kind of abuse that as Mario, I guess, to carry you a little bit. Now, you could all do all this, or I guess you could as well, just spam up smash. And that works versus quite a bit of players do when you want to get a kill. Overall, a character that I've been seeing over time becoming better and better and better. People are kind of feeling more and more stuff coming out of him. And we've always known he's just kind of a good character overall. So if you want a character that just kind of doesn't have anything that awful about them, Mario's probably the pick for you. Okay, so with Wario, I'm kind of flipping the coin on its head. Because the last character I'm mainly talking about with Mario, I was talking about, the average player. I was talking about how everybody can pick him up and do well with him just because he's so simple and because he's so good at everything. With Wario, I'm kind of using a slightly different bit of logic, which is that it seems like every single top player has a Wario. And it's very obvious that this character is amazing. I think just by the fact that everyone has a Wario, it kind of shows that. But at the same side, everybody can also play him at a decent level. Now, I feel like the reason this is the case is because A, he has a ton of safe moves, he has B, tons of safe pressure, mainly in the air, and C, he has tons of combos that are pretty easy to get off. Neutral air, you just kind of land with that. Up air, you try to start landing with that, or just jumping into your opponent with that, landing forward into stuff. It's overall quite good, and while it is kind of hard to outspace some opponents in certain matchups, for the most part, it's not too frustrating to play the character. Now, as well, I have to mention right here, he does have extremely fast airspeed, and that just kind of gets you used to a ton of mix-ups. It allows you to do a ton of baits, and it's been working out for most players. And the final thing I have to talk about, of course, right here is his waft. Now, he does have a lot of kill power in other ways. His smash attacks are quite good, down tilt forward, down tilt into dash attacks quite good, forward tilt's quite good, but up tilt into waft, up air into waft, neutral air into waft, spot dodge into waft, getting essentially just like a free kill of 30%, that can carry you in a lot of matches. And I feel like that, if you just want to kind of win by cheesing out your opponents, you could do that with Wario. You can just be very patient, get a lot of wafts, cheese them out, get those combos into those wafts, and just kind of go from there. Again, it feels like everybody and their brother plays Wario. It feels like everybody and their brother has a Wario. And I feel like, honestly, this character is a really good character to main if you want to just start to do well. And as well, if you just want to pick up a secondary that can kind of fill a lot of those top tier holes that maybe your main can't do that well, Wario can be pretty good at that as well. I feel like he's quite versatile, quite a fun character, and yeah, his waft is pretty dang dumb. Palutena. Okay, so I know a lot of people have started to hate on Palutena right now. In the past 9 months ago when I made this video again, people didn't really hate her that much. People saw that she was really good, people saw that she was really easy, and that's kind of it. But at this point, we got people like Mewtwo King and Salem just kind of chucking this character under the bus. And, I feel a little bad for her because, maybe she deserves it. She is super easy, she is super good, she doesn't really have any weaknesses, but yeah, I guess I can't defend her too much. But that's a good reason to pick her up, honestly. That's a really good reason to pick her up. I'm going to say right here, Palutena has the stuff I previously said, is very fast, has an invincible bear, an invincible dash attack, a free recovery versus most people, can edge guard, can ledge trap, has a great grab game, good projectiles, can space, can go aggressive, can play defensive, can play lane, can play ham, has great combos, and can kind of just do everything well enough. And I think that's honestly a really good thing about a character. If you want to pick up a main and you want to never be frustrated with your main, I think Palutena is one of the best characters to do that. Because oftentimes in Ultimate, you pick up a character and there's certain matchups that you play that are just annoying, that just aren't fun at all. But Palutena, she doesn't have too many of those. Sometimes for small characters it can be annoying, but it never feels like you just pick her up and you lost that game because of your character. You can always win with Palutena. I think that's what makes her so appealing and makes her just so good, and in some cases so fun to play. Now, keep in mind Palutena is a pretty basic character. You will be doing a lot of the same stuff very often. We all know the Nair meme. We all know just spamming back air. And, that's true. That does happen. She is very basic. But I'm going to say that's a really good thing because it makes it that you have to skip having to learn insanely deep combos. It makes you skip having to learn when to use very specific moves in very specific situations. It's pretty obvious with Palutena, I'm going to say. Most of her moves are very obvious and want to use them. And what you have to learn instead is how to outplay your opponent with mind games, learning what they want to do and trying to outplay that, and learning how to use her amazing movement to try to just outspeed and outmaneuver your opponent as well. And I think that's actually, in a lot of cases, a lot more of the fun part of Ultimate. Instead of just learning what your character can do, you have to learn how to beat your opponent. And you get to learn how to do that a lot faster and get to that point as Palutena a lot faster as well. Now, speaking of other things that are great about her, it's just kind of hard to mess up as Palutena, especially compared to some characters like Terry or characters like Ken, or even just some of the harder characters, because it is so easy to pick her up. It is so easy to play her. And while I'm not going to say she's the easiest character in the entire game to get decent results with, I'm going to say when you compare it to characters like that, you aren't going to be SDing at 30 that often. You aren't going to be missing a lot of your kill confirms that often. You aren't going to be missing a lot of edge guards. You're going to be getting what you're trying to go for. And sure, your opponent can still outplay you, and your opponent still can play around you, but it feels like you can do what you want to do as this character, and that makes her feel really good in my hands. Overall, I'm going to say, if you want a character that can just kind of do it all, that's just kind of easy, and that just feels really, really strong, Palutena is probably the way to go. With all this in mind, my last pick is going to be my super biased pick, because actually, you know what? I have a freaking Squirtle. I have a Squirtle right here, So you know that I'm going to put Pokemon Trainer as number one. Now, for a while, I thought to myself the Pokemon Trainer was maybe a little bit too difficult to put as one of the characters that I should offer people to main. But as time has gone on, I've realized that yes, you do have to learn through characters. Yes, that does take a lot of time. But all three of the characters have a very low skill floor, meaning that it's really easy to get into them. All of them have very basic game plans that you can use and you can do quite well with without having to put way too much time into them. Now with that said, I feel like they also all have very high skill ceilings, essentially meaning that you do have to put in a ton of time to maximize Squirtle's combos, a ton of time to maximize his spacing, a ton of time to maximize stuff like Ivysaur's kill confirms, and a ton of time to maximize how to even just not get comboed super hard as Charizard every single game. But it's kind of nice because they're not too hard to play, but you can do a lot with them if you master them. And that made me realize that's actually a good character to pick up and play, and that's probably why so many people are picking up and playing this character. As you've noticed for a long time, Pokemon Trainer has been one of the most popular characters in tournament, and there's a good reason for that, which is what I just mentioned. He's one of those characters you can pick up that's probably top 3, top 5, that you can do well with, that you can always improve with as well. And that feels so good. You get to learn how to play 3 main archetypes, and while this does take time, you can also just easily focus on one for the most part. For myself, I focus a lot on playing Squirtle in the majority of matchups, try to play, figure out how to use him, and then, if I really need a kill or really want to try to jank on my opponent or to edgeguard them, I'll go Ivysaur, but not really way too much, and then if I really need a kill, I'll go into Charizard. But most of my time is still on Squirtle, and then switching to Charizard a decent amount. You can do that. You can pick which ones you want to focus on, and if you enjoy one over the other, that's okay. Sure, it's good to have a good mix of all of them, but everyone kind of has their favorite, and I feel like that works out decently, and that can kind of carry you a little bit when you have to pick which one of the 3 you want to do. Now, speaking of matchups, which I talked about with Palutena, that can be a really annoying thing about this game. And while Pokemon Trainer does have some annoying projectile matchups, I feel like if you get good enough with Squirtle, none of them are going to be impossible, and they're all doable, because you can just kind of dart around them, get into your opponent. Sure, it can be kind of hard to actually finish them off, because sometimes Charizard can't really get in there and kill them, but there's just no really unwinnable matchups. It feels like no matter who you're playing versus, you can possibly win that game. And even his worst matchups versus the other top tiers like Pikachu, it doesn't feel like you auto-lose. It feels kind of hard, but that's kind of it. And I think that shows how good the character is, and that shows just how this character can feel great in your hands. There's just always room to grow as Pokemon Trainer, and as well, you're just never going to get bored of them. This has just kind of been my pitch for this character. I think he's just insanely fun to play, probably one of the best characters in the game, and not way too hard to get into, even though it can be kind of hard to master. So that's all I'm going to say about that. So with that in mind, those are going to be my top 5 characters that you should main, in my personal opinion. Now, if you have your own characters you feel like should have been on this list, please tell me down in the comment section down below. I'd really like to hear your guys' opinions, or if you felt like the list should have been in a different order, tell me that as well. A lot of times these lists could kind of go in any way. Usually my first pick and last pick kind of are there for a reason, but the other ones are, could kind of be mixed up. So keep that in mind. If you enjoyed this video, press subscribe. Top part of the card right, top part of the screen right now is going to be a card for replacing more videos like this. As well as the guys, thank you all for watching and have a smashing day.